Arsenal 2, Sevilla 0, and Arsenal are very close to going through to the next stage of the Champions League. Very good display from Arsenal. I thought Sevilla were really, really poor. It's one of those games quite similar to the game the other day against Sheffield, where the opposition just didn't seem to want to play. And they only got their first shot on goal and on target in the dying moments of the game. So disappointing from their side, I'm sure, but Arsenal obviously controlled the game really well. They controlled most games they've played this season, and like Arteta said, the problem is obviously being able to be aggressive and to finish off our opportunities in goal. Now, I felt that we created quite a bit. Uh, Clear-cut chances, you can say, maybe not so much, but we were definitely aggressive in our attack, and that's what Arteta really wanted us to do. He wanted us to be a little bit more direct in terms of when we are trying to cause havoc in the opposition defence. So both fullbacks and the fullbacks that came on had a torrid time against Martinelli and Saka, and they were superb. So quite a few games, for some reason, I don't know why it is, that we changed the way that we attack in terms of how our wings play and how our wings are going one-on-one against players. And I mentioned that in the Newcastle United Monday reaction, where I feel that there's definitely a change when it comes to the way that Arsenal attack with regards to our wide forwards, and it was definitely different this time. Once again, Arsenal didn't have Nketiah up front, and obviously Jesus has been injured for a while. So the last 3 games or so, we've had Nketiah up front, and it just didn't seem to work so nice. It did work well against Sheffield United. It was a different game. They didn't really come out and play. And obviously we struggled against West Ham and Newcastle United, especially our front three. Now, it seemed to be a little bit more fluid this time with Trossard being there. So what happens if Trossard and Havertz play? They tend to sometimes also interchange that positions as well as the wide players interchange. So you would see Saka or Martinelli even playing in the 9 role at times. When Trossard and Havertz maybe interchanges, or if Saka's in the middle, then Trossard maybe is on the right and Martinelli on the left, and Saka through the middle. So there was a lot of interchanging, which was good to see. Once again, Havertz, again, lots of endeavour, seems to win most of his deals, but very disappointing. You know, you could hear the gasps at the start of the game when he missed the absolute sitter once again, a heading opportunity. He's a tall guy. We were told before the time that he's not really good with his heading ability, especially when it's maybe towards goal, but he tends to win his heading duels due to the fact that he's so tall. So in midfield, you would see whenever he goes up for a duel with another opposition player, then he tends to win those duels because he's tall and he's got a good leap. But for some reason, whenever there's been an opportunity for him in all the games that he's played for Arsenal, it just doesn't seem like he's very good in the box when it comes to the heading ability. So that thought of having something different, so say for example, there's loads of crosses that comes in. So when Arsenal tend to struggle or the opposition doesn't allow us to, combination of opposition doesn't allow us to run at them one-on-one in terms of their fullbacks, or they just want us to give crosses in because they know that we don't really do well in the box, like hitting ability and all that, because it's prevalent when we see our corners and that we have loads of corners. Some games we look dangerous and other games we struggle to beat the first man. So it just seems like from that standpoint, so that's something different that I wanted to see, and I was hoping Havertz could bring that, even though we mostly use him as a left or right 8/10. I was hoping that he could be a danger in the box, and that's not been the case. And obviously, the results was there to see when he missed that sitter early on in the Sevilla game. But obviously, wasn't a problem so much. Arsenal definitely had verve in attack, and obviously mostly coming from our wide forwards. I thought Jorginho had a good game. Jorginho and Rice really had good games. Sometimes when I see the lineup before the game, and I just feel that the difference with Jorginho and Thomas Partey, and it was obviously proven wrong with the first goal, is that I would say those through the needle passes that Thomas Partey can do. On the half turn, he gets the ball forward, whereas Jorginho hasn't got that mobility, flexibility in midfield to be able to play that octopus role that we call Thomas Partey. And that was obviously a good thing because Jorginho did just that. He was able to do the half turn and get a fantastic through ball to Saka, who then obviously pushed the ball or crossed the ball through on the floor to Trossard to score Arsenal's first goal. So there's an example of what Thomas Partey can do quite a bit. Maybe he doesn't do the through ball so much, but just more from an attacking standpoint. When Arsenal are trying to move the ball quickly, Thomas Partey laps up the ball or he receives the ball in the sixth position, and it's mostly forward. It's not really sideways or backwards. And that is probably not a dig. It sounds like a dig at Jorginho, but it's just in terms of how Arsenal are able to play through the lines in midfield. I know we've had a few teams that had low blocks, which we tend to struggle with at times. Other times we are able to, grind them down. But in the Sevilla game, created loads of opportunities. There wasn't too much problems in midfield. It was quite strange their team. So I would have thought there's a couple of ways to look at the team because, okay, so Ramos was injured, which is key because he is somebody that can really stifle a team, especially with his dark arts way of football. So he was, I don't know if he's injured or suspended. Couldn't have been suspended because he played against us. Or maybe he got 2 yellows. I don't know. Might have been suspended. I didn't check that up. However, he didn't play, so that's always a big thing because it's one of my favorite defenders of all time. I like the dark arts type defenders. Even though sometimes he can be a bit dirty, loads of red cards, but he is somebody that I always had a concern about. I know he's getting to the end of his career, but that experience, numerous time Champions League winner, World Cup winner, etc., European winner, European Championship winner with Spain, etc. But yeah, he wasn't there. And then obviously the likes of Rakitic and Jesus Navas. So they obviously have a very aging team, but it's an experienced team. So obviously in big European nights, I thought maybe they could cause us problems. Uh, they didn't really over the two legs. Only when Arsenal conceded a very poor goal did we allow them a bit of steam. So they obviously got a bit of front foot ball in the last 20 minutes in the previous game at Sevilla. But Arsenal in general dominated and controlled most of the 180 minutes against Sevilla. So that's obviously a good test. Yes, Sevilla isn't good this season, but it's a good test over a two-leg period if you look at it like that, because we play them obviously home and away now. So I thought that's a lot of positives for Arsenal going into the knockout rounds. We're not through yet officially, but we do have 12 points. We're 7 clear. Is it 7 clear? Can't be 7 clear if we're not through yet. So I don't think we are through yet, but I think we are almost there. Or maybe it is we are through, it's just that we, in terms of winning the group, I don't know. I can't quite remember that. But we are almost there. We basically need 2 points to make sure that we are top of the group. Now, obviously, you can get a difficult second team. So, for example, the group that PSG is in, they've obviously got, I think it's Dortmund top, PSG second, but they're all like 1 point behind each other. Uh, PSG second, AC Milan third, and Newcastle United fourth. So obviously we can't get a Premier League team if Newcastle make it. Though there's 2 games to go, anything can happen in that group, and there's other groups as well. Real Madrid, Napoli on the same group, so you can get a difficult team that finishes second. So it's not the be all end all if you finish top, but Arsenal will finish top because how close PSG, Lens, and Sevilla are to each other. It's possible that they can home or away get a win, and then obviously Arsenal probably just needs a point to ensure that they finish top. I think we're through already, but in terms of just finishing top, which people seem to think is important, I don't really think so, because there's going to be tough teams that finish a second in their group. So maybe it's just to avoid Barcelona and Real Madrid. Can't get Man City. So those are what I call the really tough teams. And obviously PSG will be a problem as well. I think PSG are very poor away from home in general, even though they've got very difficult and dangerous players that can cause us problems, the likes of Mbappe and et cetera, et cetera. But that is later on to look at. Just this game itself, I like the control that Arsenal had, and I was very, very impressed with Rice and Jorginho in midfield. Again, Jorginho, I've mentioned him now. I had a bit of a minute chat about him on the half turn, the through balls that he can do. That he's good at. He's also good at a game that has less pace to it. So, for example, in the Champions League, it's more controlled and not so fast up and down like in the Premier League. So, in that case, he hasn't done bad. Like I said in my Monday reaction video, I thought he was fine in the Newcastle United game. It's just that in certain instances, you can see, especially when we're trying to attack through the middle, that it's not quite there. But there's a good relationship. Jorginho at 6, Rice at 8. Rice even said in a post-match press conference he really enjoys the 8 role, where he can dribble a little bit, but obviously he is the best at the number 6 role. So it's going to be interesting to see if Arsenal can delve into the transfer window. I will probably chat about that. FFP considerations. Why did we end up loaning David Raya? And also we need to then pay that 30 million. which is obviously over a period of time. But in your books, it's going to go down as a 30 million signing. So when you need to still buy him, if it is that he's going to be the number one, the goalkeeping thing also, I'm not 100% convinced about that. I think poor moments from both Ramsdale and Raya in this season itself. At the beginning, first two games, I thought Raya is going to be really good, but then in numerous games, because he plays at what I call a attacking goalkeeping role, where he's sometimes off his line and a little bit off his line also to be aggressive when it comes to collecting crosses. At times looks good, but then there's also been a number of goals. Even though the Newcastle goal, it's not a goal. I know the PGMOL has come out and said it's a goal. Uh, uh, just he's also kind of at fault there on that one. He's at fault for a Chelsea goal. And then there's another game that I can't quite think of where he was also at fault for a goal. And then also the near misses in some of the games, including the Man City game. So there's all been issues. But then again, Ramsdale didn't look great, and that's mostly, I think, because he hasn't played. So he hasn't looked great in some of the games, looked good against Brentford. And then obviously West Ham, it wasn't looking too good in that game, but there's also lots of reasons for that in terms of how we played as a team. But looking good in the Champions League for Arsenal, 9 points, not 12 points yet. You need 12 points to probably win the group, or I've been saying it from the start, it's going to be 11 due to the nature of how close Sevilla, Lens, and PSV are to each other. I think it's going to be probably 11 points to win the group. So that means Arsenal need to get 2 draws from their last 2 games. I think Arsenal will obviously comfortably beat Lens in a couple of weeks' time at the Emirates, and then we are going to have that opportunity to take a changed team, so a team that would be playing in the Carabao Cup would then go to PSV, and it will probably be a tough game for us there. PSV will either be going for second place in the group, or they will be going for a Europa League place, so they will be at full strength. So it's going to be a tough one, that one, to get points, but I think we will be guaranteed top already, so we can make some changes in that one. So there we go. Arsenal beating Sevilla 2-0. Lots of nice tactical things to think about going forward. Arsenal play Burnley on the normal Saturday afternoon games. So hopefully Arsenal are able to do the thing there. Hopefully we've got Odegaard and Nketiah back. There's obviously been injury concerns. Timber obviously out for most of the season. There's lots of speculation that he might come back a month or two sooner than expected. I doubt it. He will probably come back to come and train for a period of time, and then you might get some niggles here and there, muscular issues as well. So I don't know what sort of player we are going to see when he does come back. Obviously, Jesus is probably going to be there. I know he's been selected for the national team alongside Martinelli and Gabriel, so it's possible that he will probably play a little bit of minutes for Brazil off the bench, and then he will probably be back post the international break. Thomas Partey, there's now rumours going around that he will be out for the rest of the year because of a procedure that's going to be done to him. So I don't know what's going to happen with Arsenal. I'm actually going to discuss in my podcast the FFP considerations and what Arsenal can and cannot do with regards to that, in my opinion, for the January transfer window. There's rumours coming out that we are now looking at midfielders and obviously strikers as well. I can't see how that's going to happen, but I'll discuss that in my podcast. Come on, you Arsenal, a fantastic win, and we are almost through to the next stage of the Champions League. Come on, you got it.